That all 7 members of the council are present, and if you would, please stand for the pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Wicker.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is approval of the minutes from October 15th. Anybody like to make a motion?
Move for approval of the minutes from October 15th.
Motion for Mr. Wicker.
Okay.
Second for Mr. Cox. Any other discussion?
On page 2, second paragraph, that last line, that motion was actually made by me, seconded by Larry, not made by Larry. So I told Nancy.
All right. You guys okay with that change?
I have no problem with the change.
We have a motion.
I have a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Waffen, I abstain since I was not here.
Mr. Waffen, I abstain.
All right, motion carries 5-0 with 2 abstentions. Public comment. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak about anything that's at all that's not on the agenda? All right. Old business, resolution 2024-48, approval of the Avon, Washington Township Public Library issuance of bonds. You need to say anything or? Cool. Or-
I think we have to do a public hearing.
You just do need to open it up for public hearing, since we didn't do that last time, and then there's an appropriation language in this resolution.
Okay,
We
well,
did have a public hearing last time. We opened it and then the confusion happened after that.
I mean,
So it's okay.
we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak about the issuance of bonds for Avon Library? All right, we'll close the public hearing. So this is the resolution of the Hendricks County Council approving the Avon, Washington Township Public Library issuance of bonds.
Move for approval of resolution 2024-48.
Okay.
Motion from Mr. Wicker, second from Mr. Cox. Any other discussion? All in favor, say so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next up is Hendricks County review and approval of remaining CF1 compliance statements.
Joe Jessen and Brian Spear, they had finally able to
Yes, I-
achieve 100%.
100%, everybody's in compliance. The last trailer we had, tried to get compliance, the owner sold the company. It was in Florida and did not tell the new owner about it. So, he's in compliance, so I put Joe in his parking lot and didn't let him leave until he got it back, so he stopped him, so. and they're all-
that again, Brian?
That was,
TT Quality Leasing.
yeah,
TT?
and this is their last year, next year will be their last year. They have that trailing year for report. So,
Number 5.
Anybody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve all 5.
We have a motion from Mr. Scott to approve the 5 remaining CF1 compliance statements. Anybody like to make a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Any other discussion? All in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up is contributions to the Sheriff's Merit Deputy Unfunded Liability and Pension Fund. And what this is, for people out in the audience, we are trying to get caught up. Eventually, someday, hopefully, we'll be fully funded. But what this is like, you've heard of unfunded liabilities. It almost closed down the post office because they weren't doing their pension. They made them pay a bunch back and almost killed that. This is to make sure, we make a payment every year trying to catch up to make sure that there's enough money in there that it doesn't ever stop paying our sheriff's pensions. So we have cash on hand right now, and we wanted to look at if we put a one-time contribution, what would that do to our amount of time it takes to get it fully funded and that sort of thing. So FSG did we had a McCready King
Actuary.
did a analysis of it, And on page 4, it shows kind of, try to see what it's.
We normally pay they give us 3 options. We pay
Right.
the recommended county contribution.
Yes.
I did advertise 1.5 million. The study is done based on 1 million, so you would have that flexibility if you wanted to go to 1.5 million.
So we can't go over a million.
Right, that's what, yeah.
It helps us, but I can't remember. We have it.
On page 6, there's the, it does give the examples of 1 million, 1.5, 2 million. And what would equal the the actuarial accrued liability still.
It just brings it down.
Does that make sense? I'm not an actuary. Disclaimer. They're brilliant people.
So is this thing, the top line, that's how much we put in total for the year? Versus,
We put in, which page?
know what I'm saying, on page 6, so going across the top, it says 2025 valuation. Is that an additional million
That's for the additional 1 million, I believe. We put in approximately 1.2 million a year.
So Nancy, is that 1.5 million additional to that 1.2 million in this?
Right, it would be an addition to pay it down, yeah.
Mr. President, I'm going to move that we contribute an additional 1.5 million toward that unfunded liability for the sheriff's department.
Okay.
And
You
then,
said 1.5.
1.5,
Yeah.
yes.
and then where are we? Did you?
I advertised it out of food and beverage.
Was that out of food and beverage?
Oh, yes.
Food and
Okay.
beverage.
So we have a motion by Mr. Hessian, second by Mr. Cox. Any other discussion? Hopefully we can get this caught up. I don't know if it'll ever be caught up, but we're getting closer every year. All in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly right, right? That's exactly right.
Next, I'll open the public hearing for additional appropriations. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about any of the additional appropriations? With that, we'll close the public hearing.
You did see, we added
Yes.
number 16. I had advertised that, but Catherine and I were speaking different languages, so I didn't understand what she was saying, so it's my fault. It was advertised, so I thought she requested me to take it off. But she was saying she needed it, so it's on there, and she would like to reduce that one to 20,000. She's analyzed her numbers for the rest of the year, so she feels like 20,000 would be
That was gonna be my question, Catherine. Does this just take you to the end of the year, or is it going into?
You're right.
Just change it right now.
Will some of these cases roll over into next year, I'm assuming?
The jury trial shouldn't.
And also number 13 and 14, I advertised in 2 funds. This is John's, so we didn't know which one he needs to speak on.
Yep, go ahead.
This is for, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, down at 39 and I-70, there's a series of intersection improvements that are needed down there to accommodate existing development, and coming development just kind of gives an overview of what's happening. Basically, in the future, there's going to be, in the near future, hopefully, there's going to be 4 roundabouts in that section. Oops, sorry. Starting at the bottom end out of Keller Hill Road, that's going to be built by NDOT. That's NDOT funded. They're at county line. Next one north, there's a developer working on development plans on the east side of the road there, several different possibilities. As you go north of 70, then you've got Sunbeam on the west and West Point on the east side. The existing Innovation Boulevard is that top roundabout, and we put a temporary signal in there a couple of years ago to kind of get by because traffic there is awful. But ultimately, it needs a roundabout there. We've worked with NDOT, and this is what they want to do. This is their recommendation for how to resolve these issues. The issue is funding, of course, as always. Roundabout estimates are about $4 million each. And so construction funding is a question. The commissioners have talked about, basically kind of maybe a three-way split, the county participating, the developers participating. Historically, NDOT does not participate in what they deem economic development improvements, which we all know they do if you're in the right slot, or make the right lobbying effort. So we're trying to get them to participate in this because there is benefit to 39 traffic, whether with or without the new developments. I mean, there's a benefit there. So we've met with NDOT on trying to contribute some money. They're being vague on what they want to do. Developers want to see how much NDOT's going to put in. NDOT wants to see what developers are going to put in. We don't know for sure what we're going to put in yet. One way or the other, though, to get this off dead center, we really need to move forward with some design so we get some hard numbers and get the design going so we know what's going to get built there. The commissioners have said that they believe the county ought to get stuff off dead center. I think the county ought to pay for the design, get that part done, and that can go towards our, that could be our first contribution to get things moving here so we can improve this area. So we got fee estimates from two engineering firms, and the reason I went with two different ones is on the north side, A&F Engineering has done a lot of work, preliminary work with Sunbeam and with NDOT to talk about what needs to happen with those roundabouts and some modifications there. This will also improve the entrance to the truck stop. We're actually going to shift that to the north about 300 feet. On the south side, Kimley Horn's been working with the developer on the east side, and so they've got a lot of preliminary work in on that roundabout. And so I asked for final design fees from both of them to do the work south and then A&F to do the design work north. The total design fee for all three roundabouts is right at about $1 million. So this is a request to fund those. The commissioners have seen the agreements. Obviously, they haven't signed the agreements yet, pending funding approval. But this is a request for that. And so I talked to Nancy about places that could come out of it. Edit, of course, is a logical fit because it's economic development. But I'll give a couple of choices there, whatever you want to do. If you have other ideas.
John, and Sunbeam has committed to fund some of this. They have already committed to do that. We don't have a commitment from any of the other developers yet. Hopefully they will, but some might be doubtful. You can imagine who that might be. But anyway, Sunbeam has already committed that they will participate.
John, how far out will you do with the traffic, the volume projections to make sure that these roundabouts will handle that?
I think we were looking at a 10-year.
10?
How's that gonna be for traffic flow?
What's that?
How's that gonna be for traffic flow for people traveling 39 between Belleville and 70?
They build them? Terrible. After they're done, it'll be great. It should be a big improvement. I mean, right now you've got delays at the stoplight, just off of 70, you got delays at the stoplight Innovation.
Doing one at a time, John, or are you gonna do this?
I don't know yet. We don't have far I don't know. We haven't talked about construction phasing yet.
Just know a lot of people who travel through there.
Oh, yeah. There is a lot of people that travel.
Some farmers, it's gonna be really disappointing.
Well, Sunbeam's continuing to expand. There's more stuff going in on the west side, the east side also. And so it's just going to continue. But the intersection there, the truck stop's already a nightmare, so this will improve that flow. Larry, I think it was 10 years. I don't remember for sure what we were looking at.
No, not 20 then.
I don't remember. I need to look. We'll see.
I've forgotten, I know where you have a road that's a county border, it's by statute, which county has responsibility?
You have the south county
east.
line is ours.
South County, okay.
Correct.
And I understand that as far as design, you've got to have one design, but where this extends into Morgan County do we still pay for the entire project as far as construction?
Well, that roundabout down on County Line Road actually is being paid for by NDOT. That's not part of this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, NDOT's building that one and designing that one. So they're
Okay.
dealing with both counties on that. And the approaches are both ours. The east-west approaches are ours to control, but NDOT's funding that one. What we're talking about is design for the next one up and then
Okay,
the two
and
north.
to north, okay.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't make that clear.
Do you have intended, if you get this, do you have intended timeframes for these as they go? Like, you don't want to let them?
Well, part of that's gonna depend on, I think construction wouldn't take a real long time. Right-of-way actually is pretty clear on the two north ones. There's a little bit of right-of-way we need to get north of the truck stop. But as far as right-of-way along 39, that's pretty well open. The catch is gonna be if the state one of the catches could be, if the state participates in funding, it would have to go through the state review processes. And then, so we're looking out several years. And obviously, we'd like to see it done quicker than that.
Cheapest time to build a road was yesterday.
I think we need to rely on the developers to get the designs done and take a deep breath and see if we want to fund it without the state. But we don't, until we have the design work, I'm in agreement.
Yeah,
Fund
this
it out
kind of
ahead
gets it
of-
off dead center. And the developer both developers have paid for quite a bit of upfront work, preliminary work and conceptual work with their engineers, so we can't really lean on them to do the final design, I don't think at this point.
Was there another roundabout going to be right there at the truck stop in that frontage road south of 70? Do I recall that or not, John?
South of 70, that's gonna get closed, and this map doesn't show it, but where the road comes out there now, there's a concrete plant on the, new concrete plant on the east side, and then the old truck stop there. That's gonna be closed, and Greencastle Road coming out of Mooresville is actually gonna be shifted south to the location that route.
Okay.
So that intersection on the east side's gonna go away, the truck stop access will still be on the west side, but there won't be traffic coming across.
So we only need to approve one of these. I mean, I think edit makes the most sense. You guys okay with that? Does anybody have any other questions about anything else on the additional appropriations?
Number 8 and 9, that's to pay off those two bonds, we're in the big plan. And these numbers are high because we still have settlement to come, so I don't know how much money will be in there of the fund balance.
Okay.
So, one of them will be close to $1.5 million, the other one will not be as high, but we run settlement on December 9th, so I'll know that figure at that time.
Yes.
Nancy, where are we with ARP, American Rescue Plan, ARP?
We are, it mostly is committed.
So by the end of this year, it has to be all
Has to be committed.
committed appropriated. Next year, we have
Then
to
you got
spend,
2 years to
so you're
spend it.
26.
12, 31, 26. We've done 105 projects. I wish I'd listened to Eric.
It actually has to
Just
be
done
under
one.
contract. It actually has to be under contract,
Right,
so more than just appropriated.
right, yeah. We've got,
We're good.
we're 80% done because all the not-for-profits are out there. I got those all paid in this year. I asked to do them early because since I was leaving, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yes,
right.
they have to be, it's nationwide, so approval by commissioners, council, appropriation does not commit it. So it's been a challenge.
Any other questions?
So are you.
So we need somebody to make a motion to approve all except for 14 and 16 being $20,000. Would like to make that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Scott. Any other discussion? All in favor, say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next up is transfers. Does anybody have any questions on it?
I added a last minute one to that, and it's due to court expenses. As you know, they were completely bombarded. And so she's needed to transfer some money at the, right now.
Anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wyeth, second by Mr. Cox. Any other discussion? All in favor, say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. All right.
Status of funds, I printed off, but it's still sitting on the computer evidently. What we're always interested in is food and beverage. We haven't got that distribution yet. I know it's 500,000, but I think we may get part of it. And we were already hit that threshold because we normally have notice by now.
Right,
So it's either 250 or 500,000.
nice. All right, is there anybody in the audience, anything to say? Mr. Dawes, Commissioner?
Yes. So at the Commissioners' last meeting, we approved spending up to $100,000 of ARPA funds, and it's in the interest amount, so it's not the original funds, for the Hendricks County Communications Center to upgrade all radios in the county in case of a countywide emergency so that they can all communicate with each other. I'm probably not gonna say this as well as Renee could say it, but if this is not done by the first of next year, then each department in the county is gonna have to look at basically replacing radios at a cost of almost $6,000 per radio. There's over 1,000 radios in the county, and we can upgrade the software in those radios for about $415 per radio. So we felt like from a public safety standpoint, it was the right thing to do for the county, and we can use the ARPA money. So I'm just informing you of this because it has to be advertised and so on, so it'll come to your next meeting. I think that's right.
Right, that's correct, but my concern is their meeting's not till the 19th or 16th or 19th. Does that give time to get those ordered or the order put in or?
I mean,
I don't know, I'll have to talk to
we
Renee.
can't vote on it, but I don't think anybody's up here saying,
Favorably or-
I don't think anybody up here is saying, no, we're not gonna do it.
Okay. Okay, I'll talk to Renee and we'll figure that out. Good. Thanks, that's all.
Nancy, are you asking about the bidding for those or what they're subject to?
There is no bidding because of their,
Contract with Motorola.
what, yeah, it's part of Motorola, their contract.
Fortunately or unfortunately.
Anybody else out there?
It's what it is.
Hopefully they can do that, hopefully they have the software to do that.
No,
So
they
No, they do, they know they can get it and
that's,
It's a matter of getting
that's
it done.
part of the problem it's been over the last couple of years.
Brad?
Just curious, do you know what the process is? Are these radios gonna be out of service for a protracted period of time?
I don't know, yeah. I can't imagine it'll be like done all at one time.
Yeah,
It'll
right.
probably go in by department or something, I don't know.
I didn't take it that way by her explanation. They were referred to it as flashing.
Yeah.
So they're actually going to, it'll be a program that
Oh,
should
okay.
happen
Okay.
pretty quickly.
It is quick, we've had ours done, so it doesn't take long at all, just a few minutes.
a few minutes per radio.
Yeah, they have to get their hands physically on the radio to get it done, so.
Mr. Wicker?
Nothing.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wyeth? Mr. Scott?
Nothing?
Mr. Cox?
I don't remember if that was mentioned by anybody, but I just want to say congratulations to Nicole Lawson for Assessor of the Year.
Nancy? Oh, hold on. I made a couple of things. Rhonda sent me her contract for next year. I'll send it out to y'all to review. She said part of her email was due to Indiana code changes, commissioners have to sign every contract, even if it's something for us, unless they cede authority to us. Is that what it says? So I don't know if you guys want to cede authority to us or just have you guys sign it or what you guys think on that part.
They've always signed contracts.
Okay?
Well, but it used to be the case that by statute, the council was authorized to hire its own counsel.
I mean, we're still authorized, but the commissioners, I guess that's the tricky part, is what happens with places where they don't get along, and the commissioners don't want them to have their own.
So the new law, 1158, that just passed this last year, dealing with county contracts, requires all contracts of the county to be in the name of the county. And then the commissioners sign all contracts. And the commissioners can adopt an ordinance to have certain boilerplate language in all contracts, like for insurance, liability, that kind of thing. The commissioners can also delegate authority to any office holder or employee to sign contracts like up to a certain amount, or, you know, that, but at this point, I don't think that's been done, or at least I'm not aware of it. So, the process now is that you would just recommend a contract and then it would go to their meeting and they would actually execute it, approve it and execute it. Unless you disagree. And if there's a disagreement between an office holder and the commissioners, then there's a process of review. So it has to go to the county attorney for review. And it starts like the shot clock. And if everyone feels like once the county attorney has reviewed it, that it's an eligible contract and there has been an appropriation, then the office holder can sign the contract. So this is all due to a case out of. Right. Most of the time, I feel like there's no disagreement and the commissioners are just gonna sign it. And that's the rule for all contracts now.
You forward it out to all the council then, please.
I will.
And thanks to Lake County.
Yeah, thanks to Lake County.
Something else, we did end up selling the bonds for the highway department. Got very favorable numbers. It was Huntington Bank bought them.
Yes.
Huntington Bank bought them. They came in pretty strong and said, if you sell them to us today, we'll buy it for this amount. And like, at that point in time, bond rates were going up, so decided to sell it to them for a favorable rate.
What the yield was there?
What was it, like right around 4?
3.7.
3.7.
3.7.
And like bond like open and bonds were selling for like, they were that day, like they had just jumped up like in the mid 4s. So like there's like, you can take this today or not. We're like, yes, we'll take it. The other thing I want to talk about a little bit was election. I don't know what we need to do with that, but we shouldn't have people standing in line 2 hours after polls close. And I don't know if we need more machines, if we need to reallocate the polling places or what, but something needs to be done there, and I hope commissioners and work with voter registration to work on that. I don't think the council would have any problem buying more machines or any of that
Don
stuff.
Johnson has his hand up. I think he's on the board.
Yes, Don?
I'll speak on the election work. Our plan next year, because it's an off year, no elections, we're gonna be doing a complete review of everything. And probably have a couple of public hearings to get input from people. We're aware of the issue that happened this year, and we also feel it needs some things to be addressed. We plan on doing that, but we want to get input, make sure that we get everything. So, no, next year there's no elections at all, so that's the plan, would be the first 6 months to do that, and the second 6 months to then make decisions where we would come to you and also the commission and take recommendations.
Okay. Cool. Did you have something to say to Denny?
Don, weren't there several machines that the county has that weren't used, and just because there wasn't a location or there wasn't volunteer staffing to get it done?
Well, all the inspectors told us to use the additional machine that they asked for.
Okay.
Only one location did ask, and we could send some of that machines out. Yeah, we had some extra ones.
Okay.
Big thing is the staffing. And maybe something that we have to address, and entice people to be a great ones to serve that. We did, out of the clerk's budget, a lot more money for those in the satellite locations for the extra hours they work, so that we're paying, we don't pay them extra. But that request is
Good.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was one of those people who stood in line for 2 hours, and I had just set my watch, and it was exactly 2 hours before I could vote. And I was early voting. So if it was election day, kind of would have understood somewhat. But yeah, it was a problem for a lot of people.
We had more voters on early vote than election. So,
And what surprised me was we had 5,000 less voters this year than we had last 4 years ago, and it's like, I wonder if it's because it just took so long. I don't know.
we're also looking at locations too. Unfortunately, it's hard to get locations, we need to do it. Some locations, we can only put so many machines in there without, stacking them up. So that's something we're looking at, maybe invest in the legislature. One thing I'd like to see is for public taxing entities, be required, the election board ask with proper notice that they are required to open up facilities for us to do that, like high schools and stuff. They can do.
No, I mean, I drive to where not very many people live and vote. That's what I did. I'm not gonna tell you where I went, but it was less than half an hour. Wow. And people were waiting in line for more than 2, so.
Some people waited 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, in early voting.
Well, the very first day here, simply for stragglers, 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right after that first day. And it stayed like that the entire time.
Lined up around different floors. It was big. DoorDash made a killing that week.
Don, I have a question, and maybe I should just maybe know, is the amount of machines per location based on population area? I'm just how was that determined? Simply because I went to Bethesda and there was for sure not enough voting machines for the amount of people that came through
So
there.
they decide that based on, as far as population type thing. We were sending voters out to Amo and North Salem.
I voted in New Winchester.
Well, but I guess my comment on that is, if it is determined that way, but now with the new, everybody can vote anywhere, I'm not sure that's the best way to use. That's not a probably good thought process anymore. It's just me speaking. So maybe where we see the highest traffic, it just seems simplest to put more
Like I
there.
said, we'll be taking all the comments and be very open and look at the whole process. We find it's the presidential year in the general election, that's primary.
Sure.
We find the general election presidential year is where
Yeah.
we have the biggest issues. Next 2 years from now, it'll be the Secretary of State that will be at the top of the ballot. And typically those have been very low turnout.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay, thanks. I was just curious.
You have anything, Nancy? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Motion for Mr. Scott to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. All in favor, say so by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Computer,